Welcome to Dog Training Anytime. This is week 1. So if you were in my board and train, my boot camp, my private, I give the ebook with the programs. But if you purchase this online and you've never met me, welcome. Feel free to reach out and call us anytime. That's the name, Dog Training Anytime. So what I want you to take a look at as you begin this journey with your dog is a few things before I start out on the actual book. And I do recommend printing it. In this segment, this week 1, you will not need the dog in the picture, but you will need a notebook. I want you to have a couple of pens. This one's probably about an hour. It may go less, but please set everything aside and be able to sit down and focus. This is your foundation video. This is the one that's most important, because if you understand this, you'll understand everything else you're doing. Most of us, and I say most of us, have all had, if we're older or younger in our 20s, but if you're a teen and you're watching this, it's probably not the case. Your family may be the case. We've all had that gifted dog that came into our family and knew everything. I didn't have to train it. I hear that story every week. And what I have to say to it is God gifted us one dog, or maybe 2, that was just able to fit in the pack and understood its jobs and just understood everything. But that's not the normal dog. If you're watching this and trying to figure out how to help your dog, this is the normal scenario. So we have to give our dogs fair chance and train them patiently. When you're training a dog and you're teaching them all the behaviors that you do and don't want, that also includes all the human behaviors that are rewarding it or causing the behavior to go away. It's one or the other. Humans are number 1 factor in everything. So when we blame the dog and we say the dog is stubborn and the dog is dumb and the dog is all these other things, we're usually wrong. We're really a stubborn animal, and I say that with love. We want things to happen quick, but for us, when we're learning something, we want plenty of time. At least we hope we get that. We want rewarded for what we do, and we want patience, clarity, and calmness, which is my 3 C's rules: clear communication delivered calmly. Actually 4, I'm starting to think to change it: consistently. So this is a big part of where humans go wrong. We are not a very consistent animal, and we need to be to help our dogs, because in a pack, they are very consistent. They're very black and white. There is no today it's okay, tomorrow it's not. They have a leader, and the leaders, usually more than one, and they're born leaders. Another important fact, because not every dog wants to be a leader. They want to be led. Not every human being wants to be a leader. So you need to think about that when you do get your dog. Are you going to be the leader? Are your family members going to be the pack leaders? Are they going to be consistent in the words that they're training the puppy, which is the number 1 mistake most parents, most families all use, for some reason, tons of different words, such as, come on, come. Come on and come are supposed to mean multiple things, because when we ask a dog to come to us, that's stop what you're doing over there and come to me. When we ask a dog to come on or come, we're walking with them somewhere. I've watched both words, 2 different meanings, right? So we have to look at the words we use paired to the behavior we want to how we plan on teaching it, as if I were training a 2-year-old child. That means repetition. That means watching our body language. So let me give you another example. A friend comes over to visit your puppy, or you're out in public and everybody's like, oh my gosh, what a cute dog. Let me pet him. They bend down. Puppy jumps up. The human feels uncomfortable with the puppy to tell the other people, oh, I don't want my dog to jump. Or maybe you do tell them that. And they go, that's okay. I love being jumped. I don't care. But in essence, you have to care, because you're teaching your dog that jumping is allowed. And then all of a sudden we're getting frustrated with our dog. And is that not a confusing message? How would a child figure that one out? You know, one moment you can have the cookie on the counter, the next moment you can't have that cookie. The next moment, well, you can have the cookie. Next moment you get yelled at. That is stressful, which causes worse behaviors in any of us. So number one rule when you're training your dog is to get with the family. Now I'm going to start on page 1. Learn to speak dog language. What does that mean? They have 450 different body movements. They can go to China, they can go to Japan, they can go to England and communicate with dogs. Dogs to dogs. We can't, but we can as humans communicate a lot in our body language. So think about your language if you're accidentally giving your dog the wrong body language, such as eye contact to a dog has so many meanings. So does it to a human. We give our kids all kinds of stuff, and parents and families and husbands and wives. We all have a visual communication. But kids get how many years to learn that? A long time. How long does your puppy get to learn something with not even its own kind? It comes into the home, it's got little ones, little humans, it's got all these people, or maybe none, and then they go out in public and there's all, you've got to think in the sense of, okay, we don't talk dog, but we need to learn, and you don't talk human, and we need to teach you. So human is, we use tons of words. Dogs use sounds and body language. No words, none, zero. So if we're using all these words and have all these different meanings, and we expect them to understand it within weeks of being in our home, oh my gosh, right? So you've got to pick the body language. Let's do it. Let's give an example here. So I come in to greet you. Your home, your family, and your puppy's running around loose. Number one rule, I'm going to just say as a trainer, even though it's not on this homework, don't let your puppy greet people off leash. Number 2 rule, teach the humans that come into your home the proper greet behavior. Eye contact goes up. Why? Because dog to dog, if they're eye to eye, it's either I'm going to kill you with a different eye look, or let's go play. So we're asking an engagement that, if we're trying to stop jumping, needs to be entered with calmness. Everyone doing the same thing. Rewarding the little baby, even if it's a rescue. If it's a rescue, they haven't probably been trained. They were probably not given any chances. So think about that too. So you're literally training, whether it's an older dog or a puppy, the same thing. Our body language is the first thing we have to look at. Our body language, not theirs. Our words, not theirs. And we have to get together with everyone in the home and say, what's our deal here? Let's use this word for off. Meaning, don't jump on me, don't jump on the furniture, don't jump on people. Now, that's a word. So then we have to all decide, what's our body language going to be paired to that word, and how are we going to teach the dog what that word paired to their behavior is going to be, and then reward it. So 80% of dogs do not make it in a home. That's sad. And then the stats have probably changed. And they have over 2.9 that don't make it till their second birthday. They're at the pound and they have to be put to sleep. Because there's not enough homes, there's not enough money, and there's not enough food. So when it comes to training, it should be your ultimate. There are no bad dogs. It's just a lot of bad humans that want the dog to be good. So you want to look at first, page 1, boom, what breed am I getting? I don't care if it's a mixed. I've got mixed breeds, and the thing about a mixed breed is you just need to know kind of what mixes are you. Why would that be important? So that we can actually know what's in your DNA. What makes you move? Like a shepherd, a Rottie, a Doberman, all bred to work for you. worker bees. And you know how many hours that energy they've been bred to do? 10, 12 hours a day. Whether they're on a farm or they're with someone. A pit bull, a boxer. Those are all under the terriers. They're hunters. Lots of energy, lots of focus over to the outside world. I got to know that. So when I'm training, I understand what I'm up against, but I also understand what helps my dog be motivated to do such cool stuff in our pack. Okay, so I want you to get to know your breed, what they were bred to do. If I have 5 mixes, a husky, a pit bull, then find out what each of them were bred to do. Because somewhere in that mixed dog is exactly that, what they were bred to do. My shepherd, I would have, and I've had 6 shepherds. My one shepherd required, 2 hours a day and daycare, 2 hours a day of hiking. And we had plenty places to go. We were in California. That was great. So hiking was really important for this girl. If I didn't do it, which so many people be like, you spoil her. You do all these things for her. I said, well, family visited. Okay, I won't. 3 days in, they're like, can you take her for a walk? So you got to realize, if I don't give my dog enough exercise, enough chew items, enough activity, I'm going to have a frustrated dog, ready to go crazy. So you've got to make sure you know how much exercise your dog needs that is not entertaining themselves in your backyard. It's you entertaining them as a puppy and giving them 2 hours worth of things to chew on. That's not stuffed up toys and whatnot. Remember, it takes a string to wrap around the colon and kill by blockage your dog. So don't give them that toy that looks so cool that they tear up. Yeah, you're going to have to go through some things to find hard things for them to chew. But there's tons of things, and we'll go through that later. But second, you are what you eat. We know that. We all know that. Why don't we think the same for our dogs? The dog food company is the worst it's ever been, and at the same time, the best it's ever been. Dog food was created in the 60s during war. It was created to make money. It wasn't created because dogs needed something that was different than what was on your plate. And number 2, dog food isn't created in any form of healthy level. So you can challenge everything I have to say, research it, you'll find out it to be true. Kibble, we call dry food. Just imagine eating Cheerios every day. That's kibble. And there's no nutrition in there. There may be some fiber, and the laws allow them to write whatever they want on there. And I mean that by my full heart. And I've said this for 20 years. Wasn't believed in the beginning. Now all evidence is out there. So just realize, if a gut isn't happy and the nutrition isn't there, we're not happy. And neither would our dogs be. So you've got to make sure that you are giving them things. Like I do a crock pot full of vegetables. I'll do sweet potatoes. I'll do yogurt. Which is plain yogurt, Greek yogurt. I'll do cottage cheese. That's awesome for them. You want a happy gut. I had a Chihuahua come for me for aggression, and they thought for sure it was just the dog being aggressive, but it was the dog food. We changed it. Happy little Chihuahua. Now, I know they're all little funny little dogs, but the point being, they can't say, hey, my gut hurts. And if you can't read your ingredients on your labels, don't buy them. The ingredients, first 3, are what is in your food. And they can say byproduct in chicken, and it could be a chicken claw. And they also take dog milk animals, and it gets crunched up in our food. And most of our food now comes from other countries that don't have to provide us with proper laws. So just, that's the note for that. Second, and this is still on page 2, I want you to create a verbal list with your family. Sit down and create a word list. This is my number 1 deal. I go to homes, they'll all tell me, no, we all use the same words. I get them to start training the dog. I ask them to show me what word they're using paired to what behavior. And all 2, 3, 4, I don't care how many are in the home, have different words. And this poor dog is supposed to figure it out. So get with the family. We speak English. Pick your word. Know that it's going to go to a behavior. It can't be the same word, multiple behaviors. We don't do that. For sitting in a chair, we don't have, another word to sit in a chair. If we do, that would be really hard. So you've got to think about that. Like down when jumping off of you, then all of a sudden you want your dog to lay down. 2 different behaviors. So you've got to think hard about this one and really be positive. Know that when you're teaching a behavior paired to a word, everybody's got to be consistent when teaching this, not petting the dog for jumping some days because I'm having a crappy day, and keeping the word, if it's off, as an example for that behavior. Not confusing them. So I just got off the phone before I made this, and the confusion was, well, the dog's going for her feet and going for her hands and getting on the leg. And I said, and I knew the parents, I'm doing it in homes with them, and I said, well, is she allowing the dog up on the furniture at all? Yeah. It's a 4-month-old puppy, right? That's less than a 2-year-old child. Just think of a 2-year-old child. If you give them a moment to do one thing, they're not going to understand the next. They can't. Or they may get even more of a fit going on to get what they want. So puppies use their mouths. That's their way of handling this situation. So remember, you can't give confusing things, and we do it all the time, not understanding that we are. And we don't do it with 2-year-olds. We're pretty consistent. So you've got to think always, when you're teaching a dog anything, 2-year-old brain range. And we, for some reason, call us the smarter animal, but we want our dogs to be smarter than us, I think. I don't know. You tell me. Okay, so we've gone over a healthy idea of food. You want to make a healthy meal plan. And in the beginning, whether it's a dog that's a rescue or a puppy, I put food as a training exercise so that guarding never comes up, or if it does, I get to see it. I'll know what's going on. Then I have to get a trainer to help me with that, like me. But what you want to do is make sure that you take some good food in their bowl. They're eating. They're over there eating. You drop it in, walk away. Drop it in and walk away. That's all you're doing, is dropping it in and walking away. That's like giving $100 while you're eating. So then that in itself creates a positive connection. Good food, good hands, all of that. When food, hands are near each other, good things happen. You also want to have the kids or anybody else, but don't hover and don't stop and look down. Just for the first week, drop and walk away. All right. Now, this is where it gets really good. So we have red lights, we have green lights. We call those markers. We know what to do when a red light means stop. A green light means go. Yes is a verbal command. We call markers. If I had a whistle, that would be a marker. We use that for dolphins, and we use it for bird dogs, and we use it for a lot of dogs. If I had a clicker, too many people have gotten confused over the clicker thing. The clicker is a marker for a behavior you want, and it's followed by a reward. Just like me saying, yes, sit. You sit, and I give you $100. Yes, sit. And you sit, and I give you $100. Pretty soon, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it pays off to sit for her. So a reward has to be your value. Meaning, if you gave me $100 or $1 million, which one has a higher value in our world? The $1 million. I'm going to work harder for it. I'm going to enjoy it more. I'm going to remember it more. So when we're using a marker word, it's to mark the behavior we want, and the paycheck will follow. That gets that behavior to keep repeating itself, even if I catch it. So if I have a dog that is just looking at me, and I say, good, watch me. I caught that behavior happening, and I gave it $100. For you, that would be important, but for the dog, it might be a liver treat. Then they look back at me. Good, watch me. I caught that one. Now remember, if I'm saying, good, watch me, and I'm handing you the $100, where's your focus? And how are you learning that's a marker? You're not. You're learning that I've got something yummy over here. So you can't have that food in your hand. You'll treat it like a remote control. You've got to learn to use your word, mark the behavior. So if I wanted the finger to touch the hand and I said touch, good touch, good touch, good touch. My marker is on picture perfect shot. Then the reward follows. So remember, that's really important. Pre-planned training sessions. You'll hear me talk about that a lot when you're with me or if you do a live with me. We were taught so many ways before we were ever put in situations of anything we learned. And if you've ever been anywhere where someone threw you into a situation, how frustrating that is. Especially if it's in a group of people you don't know, in a culture you don't know. But one good thing is we'd still be speaking human body language. Let me put you in with a bunch of gorillas or grizzly bears. You'd want to know their language, right? And you'd hope they taught you that. So pre-planned training sessions, pre-planned stage training sessions are so important because you're teaching an environment that is helping whoever's learning, including the human. The human has to learn this as much as the dog. So you're teaching it, just a minute. All right, I'm up here in the office and it's an environment for as if you're living in a home. But of course she got stuck on something because I'm on a video. But anyways, they're planned. So when you drove a car, when you rode a bike, when you rollerbladed, when you learned a computer, when people learn to golf, it's a staged environment with the environment supporting you learning. So let's say I want a dog to sit at the door. I'm not going to try to do that with a party on the outside of the door. I'm going to stage my environment, put them on leash. And you'll hear me say this over and over and over about the leash because I'll go to parents' house and for some reason we're always excited to get these dogs off leash. I don't know why, because it's our extension cord and it's the only way we can teach them what we do want. So you've got to make sure that the leash is on, that you have staged an environment to match the behavior you're training, like leash walking. I don't go outside for that. Why? Think about that now that we're talking. Because too many distractions. What's the dog's body that they use first? Nose, eyes, ears. So you've got to think the first thing they do is they can smell over 400. They have 450 little smellies, more than we do. That's huge. So you've got to have an environment to first get your focus and your handling skills and your leadership skills. Because as you get into this course, you're going to see leadership skills, whether you got it or not. You're going to fake it till you make it. You've got to show a dog that you are the pack leader, or they'll have to figure it out themselves. And a lot of problems go wrong. Okay? So even if I have 4 people in the home, we all have to mirror one another. All right. So we've talked about stage training. I've got your shopping list that I'd like you to take a look at. And that would be starting with what training equipment. No retractables and no harness. No retractables and no harness. Those come after. If you look in the history of when a harness was made, it was made to have an animal pull. You put it on a horse, they pull. You put it on a dog sled, they pull. Rottweilers, they have competitions in buggies now. So you really got to think about equipment and really pick what's going to work best. I get a dog in for boot camp or board and train. I'm not always sure which equipment I'm going to use. Now there's a lot of training with e-collars. That's a whole nother video by itself. Do not start right away with a V collar. You've got to first get your commands, your body language, everything you need to make your dog have a great training time, and including you. Because like you just learned, 90% is training the human. It is not training the dog. The dog will follow. So there are a harness. It's called a sporn harness. If you're interested in that, look into it. The notes are here. There are gentle leaders. Those are they were made from horses kind of general concept. So there's a huge mix of what you can pick. Just don't pick what? Retractable or harness. The retractable, I've had a lot of parents have issues with that, but I'll tell you what, it only took me once to see a Jack Russell break that retractable, and I'm sorry, I can just see I've got big, take off across the road and was hit. They do come out of the casement, and the reason retractables are a nightmare is your hands are your training tools. You cannot be training a dog and having a retractable and all that in your hands. That being said, we'll move on. Okay, so we're going to page 5. On here, I've still got your leashes. So you want a 4-foot or a 6-foot leash, a long line. And I've also talked about electronic spray collars. I can't go through all that in this video, but I can say there's a lot out there. I do use e-collars, but I'm very particular when and how. And they're great. I mean, I use them also for death dogs because you have a vibration on there. So you can get their attention and teach them signals much easier, positive, of course. All right, next thing is chew items, chew toys. So you want to think about what's in your chew box, your chew items. You do not want to have stuffed items, socks, tennis shoes, towels, things that look like the items in your own home you don't want chewed. You have to have a true toy box for a dog. I recommend nothing wood, or they'll chew. You gotta have a plastic container, or a metal container is even better. You only put 4 or 5 things in there, so you really wanna pick what you're gonna do with that. And again, that's another conversation I'm running through just to set the house up and get ready for everything. Chew items, always have 3 to 4. Remember, they need 3 hours to 2 hours of chewing. That helps the brain, that exhaust. Think of a baby sucking on a pacifier, kind of the same thing, or messing with things in their hand and sucking on it. Dogs need that. And it's not the squeaky stuffed animals. Treat bag. You gotta have something that you can reach into. So this isn't a treat bag in that I have it on my hip, but what I'm gonna show you is people get stuff like this and then they zip open and then they're getting the one treat out and then they're trying. You've missed the moment. You've got to use your marker word paired to grabbing the treat, knowing that you're training. So that has to be set up. I also do things, hidden treats in my home. So when I walk around and do leadership walking, it's not always coming, and you cannot always keep it in your hand. I'm going to repeat that one so many times. What happens is you get taught in a class in the very beginning, which we do use treats to lure behavior. Lure means that we get them to follow the treat and do the behavior. We pair it to a word and we reward. Problem is the average human has a hard time fading out using the treat. And then the dog is just glued. No. We need them to learn the word first. And remember, word is not dog language, so we're teaching them the hardest thing, but the highest needed. If I'm out in public and my dog took off, are they gonna see a signal? No, they gotta hear you. And so you've got to train first with the knowledge that you don't care. You do not want them to see the treat to do the behavior. Okay. So we are on page 6 and we're still working on marker tools, marker words, interruption tools. Marker words are words paired to a behavior that we like. Good sit, good come, good off, not just good. Then the interruption word is paired to something we're interrupting, we don't want, such as jumping. Is a marker like no, but we say no all the time, even in our conversation. So I tell parents, do not use no as a marker, interruption marker. Use paired to off, off. Body language paired. Remember, body language is right in line with all of this. There's never a word given without my body language mirroring in their language what I want. So if I say off, that's me taking my eyes away, my body away, because in their language, they would do that to each other. They wouldn't just go, They do give warnings. The elders are consistent. They deliver it calmly, clearly, and consistently. So remember, 3 C's there. Be clear, be calm, and be consistent. That is so hard after a parent does this maybe 1 or 2 times. Then they're like, sit, sit, sit. And they want the dog to sit in any environment. So let's stay where we're at first on learning your interruption tools and your marker words. Marker words, marker sounds, such as a click or a whistle. Interruption tools would be like a pop can, okay, full of 3 pennies taped at the top. Remember Charlie Brown's teacher? You always heard in the background talking, but you never understood what behavior would have been wanted. So you've got to make sure that you're actually interrupting it, paired to off. And it could be a shake can, it can be a squirt gun, but you're pairing it. That's the most important part. So that one day when you don't have that tool, they know what the word means, just like when we're teaching a little child, hands off the table. And then we redirect, right? We take them and show them what they can do. That's how every training session needs to end. All right, the next page is number 7, and this is developing deadlines. Let me say that again. Developmental deadlines. I want you to read that on your own, and there is no black and white with this, but remember one thing. The most important thing that I teach all parents is you've got up to 6 months to 7 months. That window is the brain's time of development, like it is for a child. So if I keep them inside up to 6 months, that's like keeping a child up to 5 years in a building and they don't get to see anybody else. They're not going to come out of that normal. And a dog that's a pack animal would never just stay with their little pack isolated in a room. Or the same dogs. You have to do some form of controlled social skills, even during the vaccine timeline. It can be as simple as I take them to a place where lots of people are, they're not interacting, I'm treating, I'm hanging out, and I leave. It's a controlled environment. I also make sure that whatever I'm doing there is a trained, controlled environment. No human beings get to mess my dog up. So I don't let them just randomly come up and greet and all of that. I really, truly recommend don't let people do that with your dog until the dog is really learned off. And then control the people. Just remember this rule. Just like if I take my dog to the beach, I go there up until 8 months. They are not randomly walking up to different people. If I do, then I've trained my dog when we go to the beach. It's a do what you want. Don't follow me. I want my dog to go out in the water, go down the beach with me, stay with me. I'm the leader. So just be consistent with that. Okay, so you're going to go through your adolescent. Remember to go through all the different things here. All right, so I hope you're so far understanding everything that we're talking about here. And that I want you to go back and review real quick. You need to make a command list with your family. You need to set up a staged environment every time you're working with your puppy. You need to keep the dog on a leash every time you're training, whether you buy a cheap leash, cut the handle off, we call it a tagline. You have to have that. Remember, a puppy running around in a big space is like a kid running around with no one watching them. We hold their hands. We do all kinds of stuff with our children. Do the same with your puppy, all right? Then from that point, I want you to, I'm trying to take a look at the notes and make sure I get everything. Create a safe zone for your dog. This is a number one. I'll get in a home and parents are just overwhelmed. You need a crate, and I'll tell you why in a minute. You need a playpen that's high, meaning not the teeny little toy size. Sorry, now I'm gonna have hiccups. So you want to make sure that you have a play area, a crate. I even recommend getting, they're called Z-screws. You can screw them into the baseboard, and a nice metal tether chain, which we'll go through in the other parts of the classes, and a nice bed that is only available while you're observing if it's a young dog and you don't know that they'll destroy them. Now, that being said, you want to make sure that as you get down on your hands and knees, you look around, just like I would for a 2-year-old. If there's outlets, cords, things they can actually chew on, they will, just like a 2-year-old. So you've got to put them in safe zones when you aren't watching them, and that does not mean a bathroom that they can chew the wall to. My roommate, who would not listen to me on this at one point in my life, I had a rescue. She was a very high maintenance, teaching how to be on her own alone. So I had my crate, and that's why we have to have crates. That's why we have to have playpens. They would have a den and they would have a safe zone amongst the other members. But just like our kids, we need them to learn how to do it on their own. That's not normal for a pup or an adult dog. So he wouldn't listen to me. Every time Scarlett cried, and some of you already know Scarlett if this is 2026, but you've got to remember, they're gonna cry. I gave her activity items. I do a lot of stuff before I just leave them in a situation. I help crate train, but there's times they're still gonna cry. He would get her out every time. Then I'd get a call. Oh, Scarlett, she ate the door wall. Really? Well, how'd she get downstairs to eat the wall? Well, I let her out. That's like letting a 2-year-old out, just roam the house. There's no way it would look normal by the time you get back. You've got to feel comfortable to understand why we crate train. I tell parents, crate training, no dog likes crate right in the beginning unless there's other dogs in there. And we're their pack leader in a sense. They want to be with the pack. So it takes training. It takes weeks and sometimes months. And it's done in increments. So that being said, I want you to also realize that as you're training, you want to learn learning plateaus, meaning that dogs actually have different points where they learn things. You want to have understanding of displaced behaviors, meaning you let me up here 5 times and now you're saying no. I'm chewing this up out of stress. Too many times that gets seen as, oh, you got even with me. No, it's a displaced behavior. You got to realize it's stress, response, stress, response, stress, I'm alone, response. Stress, you let me up on the couch yesterday. What did I do wrong today? Response. You've got to think about how you are being consistently clear and communicating, and everybody else is too. Okay, page 10. 3 C's of leadership. Clear, calmly, consistently delivered, meaning I train each session with that in mind. Bad day, let the puppy go chew something, put them up. Don't try to accomplish anything, and don't put yourself in a position where they'll cause a problem and then you're upset. Control your environment. Parent leadership, establish this. Whoever is training the dog has got the leash in their hand, so the person across the room cannot be yelling commands. You need to each individually train the same on leash, rewards, but consistently, and don't intervene with the other person. That's a number 1 rule. And don't let kids, especially under 8 or even 10, randomly correct your dog. That's not, unless they're being trained by a trainer, which I recommend. All my kids were, and I taught 4-H. I have always taught other kids how to communicate to their animal, and then they teach other kids. It's really cool. So think that you're giving them a very constructive exercise. They're learning leadership in a positive manner. Calm, consistent, clear. Repetition can take months, but so does it for us to learn things, right? Okay, so we are now down to page 11. So this is, I'm going to speed up a little bit. Some of the stuff you need to read, it's just really known. We talked about doggy proof the home. Page 12, mealtime. We talked about training, how you're going to do that. Number one, that's really important on 12, parent and kid safety. I can't express this enough. Way too many humans allow the children to do what they want and not teach a dog and the children all at the same time. Teach everyone's responsibility in this. That when I can't watch kids at a certain age and the dog at the same time, the dog is with me or the dog is in a crate, safe. And that way I can know. I can give you another story. So I have had many stories, but the one that laid the hardest on my heart was I had a black lab, 7 months old. 3 rambunctious boys lived in the home, so you can imagine. This dog I knew stayed with me for board and train, stayed at the daycare. I knew this little puppy. They called me one morning, we're going to take it to the pound and have it euthanized. I said, why? Well, it bit one of the boys. I said, were you in the room? No. That's the number one thing I hear a lot. They had pencils and they were trying to stick it in the dog's nose. So who wouldn't bite back? What kid wouldn't punch another kid? So you know, I begged to take that dog. I would have easily taken that dog, but they were so for sure that that dog would bite again and make it unsafe. So that's what they needed to do. But the hardest part of my soul was, it was the children, it was the humans. It was not a puppy who's helpless. And 90% of the time, that story is what I hear. So I can't say it enough about parent-kid safety. If you have children in the home, monitor, train, have them learn, but don't have them correct. They are not to correct the puppy. You, as the elders, are to teach what it looks like for the dog to learn behaviors. Positive. Short sessions. Make sure no one's accidentally rewarding jumping or crazy behavior, running over the couch, or the kids are running up and down the hall and the dog is following, such as a cattle dog, a shepherd. What are they gonna do? They're gonna herd the kids. They're gonna go for the ankle with their mouth. That's why knowing your breed and what they're about is so very important, because there's natural instincts like there is for us. So that being said, on page 12, my number one message is be the pack leader in your family. Monitor everybody and never assume it's always the dog. Okay? So, soft mount, bite, inhibit. That means you're teaching your dog how to use their mouth. They would learn that from another family member, a pack leader. And how they learn it is really interesting. Puppies to puppies, play, bite. The other puppy's like, oh my gosh, you just bit me too hard. And they yelp. And the other puppy stops. But that puppy didn't get the idea, so it comes back. Plays as hard. That same puppy that yelps like, oh my gosh, I can't handle you, gets up and walks away. I'm not playing anymore. That's called a body shutdown. They're consistent with it until the one puppy learns, use your mouth gently. So the other puppy stopped. But let's say the other puppy didn't. It's screaming and crying, and this other dog just keeps taunting. If you've ever seen kids that do that, it requires the elders to stop that behavior from whether it's a dog or a child. But remember, they're learning. So a puppy has to learn how to use the mouth gentle. So we have to teach them. First, it's gentle in taking a treat. If they don't, it's not a flaring of the arms or flaring of the arms. Remember, that is play. Play. Puppies play. Adult dogs play. this is flaring. Freeze, stop, and remove is a dog-to-dog message that stop that. Now the elder will give that as a first warning and a growl, and that's our interruption. Easy, that's our interruption. We can't growl, we don't want to growl. Third time, dog does it again, comes for the hand. Then you have to have a shake can, an interruption sound, but your body is also interrupting. So remember our words paired to our body language, paired to how we're going to teach this puppy or dog not to use their mouth on human skin. Big mistake is you'll have family members, well, that's okay, he goes and plays rough with them. Well, that's fine. Then they can have that relationship. And remember, when the child or the human gets hurt, that is never the dog fault, because it was taught that that was their relationship. So, and that being said, you still are responsible to teach your dog, don't put your teeth on skin. So if they're getting a mixed message with someone else, like I have a toy and they go here on my hand instead of on the toy, I drop the toy and walk away. Body shut down. Not a correction. We're not correcting a little 2-year-old, right? We really don't. You're teaching. You're teaching. So if it's a rescue, you're teaching. If it's a puppy, you're teaching. Okay? All right. There's a bunch of kid objections. I'm moving along to potty training. If you just get them in the home, potty training is not something you can easily write out and have it all back to back for a parent to understand. But what is important is your setup. You gotta have a crate, gotta have a playpen. Pee pads help, but they're only there for them if you can't get them out the door. You do not want a revolving door. You do not want an open door. You have to schedule your potty training. It starts in the morning and it goes all the way till night. You schedule your feeding. You do not give them full feeding range, meaning you can eat all day long, because one, I won't know when you have to go, and two, it is really important to know if my dog's sick, and that's the first signal, is they'll quit eating. So those are the reasons. And third, have them work for the food. So if it's a puppy, it's great to use it in a Kong. It's great to do your food and all kinds of stuff. And then you know when they're done, 20 to 30 minutes. No, do not read Google. They have all kinds of different information. Every dog is a little bit different, just like humans. We have kind of an idea of how to potty train a child, but each are different. And don't stick your dog outside. You got to go with them. Use the same word. Go to the door. Got to go potty? Got to go potty? Walk them on leash. Let's go potty. Walk them to the location. You choose it. Go potty. Have a treat. Mark it when they go potty and treat. If they don't, go right back in, and this is every puppy out there almost. They'll do one but not the other. Go back in, sit down, on leash, 5 minutes, do it again until they go. Remember, some dogs, up until they're about 4 months old, are just developing their holding skills, like kids. That's why we give kids diapers. Dogs, if they eat, water, play, all need to go rest in 20 minutes for the average dog, especially if it's an older dog, never potty trained. You've got to realize they didn't get the opportunity. So now you got to give it to them. But remember, a young dog is developing, and so is an older dog. If they've never had to hold themselves, that's a skill in itself. I think we all know that. We can go somewhere, and when you got to go, and you're praying, right? So a dog has the same scenario, but if you reward it at the moment, paired to the word, to the behavior, you're going to get a faster result, just like that $100 versus $1 million. You got to do this for days. To get them to signal, you're walking them to the door, not holding them if they're a puppy or baby. You walk them, stand at the door, say go potty, walk out, go potty, treat. That being said, I'll move on. Teaching leave it. Leave it's a good one, and off is too. But you're teaching it. So, puppies, what's their first drill? What's the very first thing that they're using? What's the second? What's the third? Ears. So anything that is going to get their attention to go that way, or to go that way, or to look on the ground. You're walking a 2-year-old, so you wouldn't let him pick up a hanky off the ground. And these days, I don't want to tell you the stories, but dogs have died instantly. You are never to follow your dog behind the leash. You'll hear me say that over and over, because who's leading? But you also can't see what the dog's doing. You got to teach him to walk with you, nose up. Treats. I hear some of you going, well, how can I keep their nose up? Treats. Let's go. Inside practice first. Same with leave it. So if I have a food I drop on the ground and I want to teach leave it, I have to have something I'm going to reward from above. I'm going to have them on leash. I'm going to be far enough that my timing, not theirs, can interrupt the nose even considering. Leave it. Redirect them. Good leave it. Treat. Never end with what they did wrong. How are they going to fix it? Remember that. Exercise and play is huge. You need 2 to 3 hours of exercise for an average dog. Leash walking around the house is some of that. Chewing on lots of items is another. Interacting with play toys for them is another. Never them doing it all by themselves. So you schedule your day, all right? So we've got on page 17, mimic body language. Start to read this. Again, this isn't something I could go through. I'd bore you to death, but you'll hear it in all my training. So I want you to read through, follow me, dog chases you, you don't chase the dog, hide and seek games, full body shutdown, which I did just talk about with the off or biting on the fingers, be a leader, body block, where you're blocking being jumped on. So very consistent. Bow play, understand it, because that's where people mess up. They bend down to greet a dog, which is bow play. And then the dog jumps and they're like, why did it jump? You gotta greet your dog differently. So we'll get involved in that. Learn about head to tail. What's it mean? If a dog does, bounces, big open wags, learn a little bit. That's their language. You gotta learn it, even if you're wagging yourself a little bit. That's what they understand. Body language that says, I'm scared. I can't deal with this pressure. I need a leader. I need that dog to stop. Don't go to a dog park. I recommend that first. Get your training, get an understanding, and pick parks where other people have the same skills. All right. So we are down to page 21, claiming your space. Hula hoop in this picture, because I need you as the trainer to have a visual. This is my space and I invite you in. Be a pack leader. Move them out, move them in. Claim your space, but don't confuse. So, my dog loves to jump when she sees me, like Tigger. Boing, boing, boing. So I'm consistent at saying don't bite my arm, which she tried as a puppy in the beginning. That was an off. I didn't shut down her Tigger bounce because she's unique in this area. This is something is her. I would have corrected her personality, but I did manage what behaviors out of that I will accept. And I didn't confuse it. So I don't give her eye contact when I come in. I keep really clear at what my rules are. And she knows that pretty good. Still gets excited at 3 years old and makes a mistake, but I'm consistent. Claim your space. Visit with people and have them learn to greet and meet politely. Page 22, teaching with pictures the soft mouth, the food bowl exercises. Leave the food. All right, we're down to 25. That is it. That is your first video. You did fantastic if you sat through this. If you had to pause, please always go back and just review. It's okay. Sometimes this is a 3 or 4 listen to again. I hope you're good humans. I've got a dog in my hands right now. But if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. You know how to reach me, whether it's via website, Facebook, Instagram, or direct phone. Leave me a voice message. I call back everybody. Better than a text. All right. I hope you do great. I'm excited for you to be in this program. And by the end, I hope I see some really cool videos and testimonies. Be good humans. and you'll have a good dog.